For anyone on stage, and can I see hands, who is unwilling tonight to pledge your support to the eventual nominee of the Republican Party and pledge to not run an independent campaign against that person? Again, we're looking for you to raise your hand now. Raise your hand now if you won't make that pledge tonight. Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump, to be clear, you're standing on a Republican primary debate.
I fully understand.
The place where the RNC will give the nominee the nod.
I fully understand.
And that experts say an independent run would almost certainly hand the race over to Democrats and likely another Clinton. You can't say tonight that you can make that pledge.
I cannot say. I have to respect the person that if it's not me, the person that wins. If I do win and I'm leading by quite a bit, that's what I want to do. I can totally make that pledge. If I'm the nominee, I will pledge I will not run as an independent. But and I am discussing it with everybody, but I'm talking about a lot of leverage. We want to win, and we will win. But I want to win as the Republican. I want to run as the Republican nominee.
So tonight you can't say if another one of these...
This is what's wrong. I mean, This is what's wrong. He buys and sells politicians of all stripes. He's already, look, he's already hedging his bet on the Clintons, okay? So if he doesn't run as a Republican, maybe he supports Clinton or maybe runs as an independent.
Okay.
But I'd say that he's already hedging his bets because he's used to buying politicians.
Well, I've given him plenty of money.
Just to be clear, you can't make it. We're going to move on. You're not going to make the pledge tonight.
I will not make the pledge at this time.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Trump, one of the things people love about you is you speak your mind and you don't use a politician's filter. However, that is not without its downsides, in particular when it comes to women. You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account...
Only Rosie O'Donnell.
No, it wasn't. Your Twitter account...
Thank you.
For the record, it was well beyond Rosie O'Donnell.
Yes, I'm sure it was.
Your Twitter account has several disparaging comments about women's looks. You once told a contestant on Celebrity Apprentice it would be a pretty picture to see her on her knees. Does that sound to you like the temperament of a man we should elect as president? And how will you answer the charge from Hillary Clinton, who is likely to be the Democratic nominee, that you are part of the war on women?
I think the big problem this country has is being politically correct. I've been challenged by so many people, and I don't frankly have time for total political correctness. And to be honest with you, this country doesn't have time either. This country is in big trouble. We don't win anymore. We lose to China. We lose to Mexico, both in trade and at the border. We lose to everybody. And frankly, what I say, and oftentimes it's fun, it's kidding, we have a good time, what I say is what I say. And honestly, Megyn, if you don't like it, I'm sorry. I've been very nice to you, although I could probably maybe not be based on the way you have treated me, but I wouldn't do that. But you know what? We need strength, we need energy, we need quickness, and we need brain in this country to turn it around. That I can tell you right now.
Mr. Trump, it has not escaped anybody's notice that you say that the Mexican government is sending criminals, rapists, drug dealers across the border. Governor Bush has called those remarks, quote, extraordinarily ugly. I'd like you're right next to him, talk to him directly and say how you respond to that. And you have repeatedly said that you have evidence that the Mexican government is doing this, but that you have evidence you have refused or declined to share. Why not use this first Republican presidential debate to share your proof with the American people?
So, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. This was not a subject that was on anybody's mind until I brought it up at my announcement, and I said Mexico is sending. Except the reporters, because they're a very dishonest lot, generally speaking, in the world of politics, they didn't cover my statement the way I said it. The fact is, since then, many killings, murders, crime, drugs pouring across the border, our money going out and the drugs coming in. And I said, we need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly. And I don't mind having a big, beautiful door in that wall so that people can come into this country legally. But we need, Jeb, to build a wall. We need to keep illegals out.
Mr. Trump, I'll give you 30 seconds. I'll give you 30 seconds to answer my question, which was, what evidence do you have, specific evidence, that the Mexican government is sending criminals across the border? 30 seconds.
Border Patrol, I was at the border last week. Border Patrol, people that I deal with, that I talk to, they say this is what's happening because our leaders are stupid. Our politicians are stupid. And the Mexican government is much smarter, much sharper, much more cunning. And they send the bad ones over because they don't want to pay for them. They don't want to take care of them. Why should they when the stupid leaders of the United States will do it for them? And that's what's happening, whether you like it or not.
Mr. Trump, Obamacare is one of the things you call a disaster.
Complete disaster, yes.
Saying it needs to be repealed and replaced.
Correct.
Now, 15 years ago, you called yourself a liberal on health care. You were for a single-payer system, a Canadian-style system. Why were you for that then, and why aren't you for it now?
First of all, I'd like to just go back to one. In July of 2004, I came out strongly against the war with Iraq because it was going to destabilize the Middle East. And I'm the only one on the stage that knew that and had the vision to say it. And that's exactly what happened. The Middle East became totally destabilized. So I just want to say, as far as single payer, it works in Canada. It works incredibly well in Scotland. It could have worked in a different age, which is the age you're talking about here. What I'd like to see is a private system without the artificial lines around every state. I have a big company with thousands and thousands of employees, and if I'm negotiating in New York or in New Jersey or in California, I have like one bidder. Nobody can bid. You know why? Because the insurance companies are making a fortune because they have control of the politicians. Of course, with the exception of the politicians on the stage. But they have total control of the politicians. They're making a fortune. Get rid of the artificial lines and you will have yourself great plans. And then we have to take care of the people that can't take care of themselves, and I will do that through a different system.
Hey, Mr. Trump, hold on one second.
I got a news flash.
I know. Hold on, Senator Paul.
News flash. The Republican Party's been fighting against a single-payer system for a decade. So I think you're on the wrong side of this if you're still arguing for a single-payer system.
I don't think you heard me. You're having a hard time tonight.
All right, Mr. Trump, it's not just your past support for single-payer health care. You've also supported a host of other liberal policies. You've also donated to several Democratic candidates, Hillary Clinton included, Nancy Pelosi. You explained away those donations, saying you did that to get business-related favors. And you said recently, quote, when you give, they do whatever the hell you want them to do.
You better believe it.
So what specifically did they do?
If I ask them, if I need them, you know, most of the people on this stage I've given to, just so you understand. A lot of money.
Not me.
Not me. But you're welcome to give me a check, Donald, if you'd like.
Many of them.
Actually, to be clear,
That's
he
right.
supported
Not-
Charlie Crist.
Not Mike.
Charlie,
But I have.
Donald, if you end
I
your
have
campaign, I hope you will give to me.
Good.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me, Governor. I will tell you that our system is broken. I give to many people. Before 2 months ago, I was a businessman. I give to everybody. When they call, I give. And you know what? When I need something from them 2 years later, 3 years later, I call them. They are there for me.
So what'd
and
you
that's
get?
a broken system.
So what'd you get from Hillary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi?
Well, I'll tell you what. With Hillary Clinton, I said, be at my wedding, and she came to my wedding. You know why? She had no choice because I gave. I gave to a foundation that, frankly, that foundation is supposed to do good. I didn't know her money would be used on private jets going all over the world. It was. But, okay?
Mr. Trump, you talked a lot about how you are the person on this stage to grow the economy. I want to ask you about your business record. Trump corporations, casinos and hotels have declared bankruptcy 4 times over the last quarter century. In 2011, you told Forbes magazine this: "I've used the laws of the country to my advantage." But at the same time, financial experts involved in those bankruptcies say that lenders to your companies lost billions of dollars. Question, sir, with that record, why should we trust you to run the nation's business?
Because I have used the laws of this country, just like the greatest people that you read about every day in business have used the laws of this country, the chapter laws, to do a great job for my company, for myself, for my employees, for my family, etc. I have never gone bankrupt, by the way. I have never. But out of hundreds of deals,
but sir,
excuse me,
that's your line, but your companies have gone bankrupt.
What am I saying? Out of hundreds of deals that I've done, hundreds, on 4 occasions, I've taken advantage of the laws of this country, like other people. I'm not going to name their names because I'm not going to embarrass, but virtually every person that you read about on the front page of the business sections, they've used the law. The difference is when somebody else uses those laws, nobody writes about it. When I use it, they say, oh, Trump, Trump, Trump. The fact is, I built a net worth of more than $10 billion. I have a great, great company. I employ thousands of people, and I'm very proud of the job I did. Again, Chris, hundreds and hundreds of deals. 4 times I've taken advantage of the laws, and frankly, so has everybody else in my position.
Well, sir, let's just talk about the latest example, which is Trump Entertainment Resorts, which went bankrupt in 2009. In that case alone, lenders to your company lost over $1 billion, and more than 1,100 people were laid off.
Well,
is that the way that you run the country?
Let me just tell you about the lenders. First of all, these lenders aren't babies. These are total killers. These are not the nice, sweet little people that you think, okay? You know, I mean, you're living in a world of the make-believe, Chris. You want to know the truth. And I had the good sense to leave Atlantic City, which, by the way, Caesars just went bankrupt. Every company, Chris can tell you, every company virtually in Atlantic City went bankrupt. Every company. And let me just tell you, I had the good sense, and I've gotten a lot of credit in the financial pages. 7 years ago, I left Atlantic City before it totally cratered, and I made a lot of money in Atlantic City, and I'm very proud of it. I want to tell you that. Very, very proud of it. And by the way, this country right now owes $19 trillion, and they need somebody like me to straighten out that mess.
Mr. Trump, in 1999, you said you were, quote, very pro-choice, even supporting partial birth abortion. You favored an assault weapons ban as well. In 2004, you said in most cases you identified as a Democrat. Even in this campaign, your critics say you often sound more like a Democrat than a Republican, calling several of your opponents on this stage things like clowns and puppets. When did you actually become a Republican?
I don't think they like me very much. I'll tell you what, I've evolved on many issues over the years, and you know who else has is Ronald Reagan evolved on many issues. And I am pro-life, and if you look at the question, I was in business, they asked me a question as to pro-life or choice, and I said, if you let it run, that I hate the concept of abortion. I hate the concept of abortion. And then since then, I've very much evolved. And what happened is friends of mine years ago were going to have a child, and it was going to be aborted, and it wasn't aborted, and that child today is a total superstar, a great, great child. And I saw that, and I saw other instances, and I am very, very proud to say that I am pro-life. As far as being a Republican is concerned, I come from a place, New York City, which is virtually, I mean, it's almost exclusively Democrat. And I have really started to see some of the negatives. As an example, and I have a lot of liking for this man, but the last number of months of his brother's administration were a catastrophe. And unfortunately, those few months gave us President Obama, and you can't be happy about that.
In America.
Mr. Trump, 30 seconds.
Well, first of all, Jeb, I am very happy that you denied that, and I appreciate that very much. I mean, he's a true gentleman. He really is. The one thing he did say about, and I mean that, the one thing he did say about me, however, was my tone, and I also understand that. But when you have people that are cutting Christians' heads off, when you have a world at the border and at so many places that it's medieval times, it's almost got to be as bad as it ever was in terms of the violence and the horror. We don't have time for tone. We have to go out and get the job done.
Candidates, you may not have seen the late developing news today. Our Fox Pentagon team broke earlier this evening about a top Iranian general traveling to Moscow to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. His name is General Qasem Soleimani. He's blamed for hundreds of U.S. troop deaths in Iraq and Afghanistan. His trip to Russia appears to directly violate UN Security Council resolutions to confine him to Iran. So, Mr. Trump, if you were president, how would you respond to this?
I would be so different from what you have right now, like the polar opposite. We have a president who doesn't have a clue. I would say he's incompetent, but I don't want to do that because that's not nice. But if you look at the deals we make, whether it's the nuclear deal with 24-hour periods, and by the way, before you get to the 24 hours, you have to go through a system. You look at Sergeant Bergdahl. We get Bergdahl, a traitor, and they get 5 of the big, great killers, leaders that they want. We have people in Washington that don't know what they're doing. Now, I agree. Now, with Iran, we're making a deal. You would say, we want him. We want him. We want our prisoners. We want all these things. We don't get anything. We're giving them $150 billion plus. They are going to be, I'll tell you what, if Iran was a stock, you folks should go out and buy it right now because you'll quadruple. What's happened in Iran is a disgrace, and it's going to lead to destruction in large portions of the world.
Mr. Trump, closing statement, sir.
Our country is in serious trouble. We don't win anymore. We don't beat China in trade. We don't beat Japan with their millions and millions of cars coming into this country in trade. We can't beat Mexico at the border or in trade. We can't do anything right. Our military has to be strengthened. Our vets have to be taken care of. We have to end Obamacare, and we have to make our country great again, and I will do that. Thank you. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't even be talking about illegal immigration, Chris. You wouldn't even be talking about it. This was not a subject that was on anybody's mind until I brought it up at my announcement, and I said Mexico is sending. Except the reporters, because they're a very dishonest lot, generally speaking, in the world of politics, they didn't cover my statement the way I said it. The fact is, since then, many killings, murders, crime, drugs pouring across the border, our money going out and the drugs coming in.
All right, that was a clip of Donald Trump from earlier tonight, and right after the debate was over, I spoke with the Republican frontrunner. Take a look. And joining us now, he's still #1 in the polls and doing very well on the Drudge Report, instant poll results. Donald Trump, how are you?
Yeah, well, I love Drudge, and I heard that. Very honored.
The first time in any situation like this, how'd you feel about up there?
Well, it was exciting. I mean, there's so many people, and everybody's going wild, and I believe in my subject matter. I mean, make America great again, and that word again is a very important word because it can happen, but you need the right leader. So hopefully we continue to do well.
The country's suffering. There's no doubt about it. The one question that got a lot of boos and came right off the top, running as a third candidate, you wouldn't make the pledge.
Well, I'd make the pledge if I win. But you know what? Why should I give up that leverage? If they don't treat me well, you know, you're talking about the establishment Republicans. If they don't treat me well, Sean, why should I make that pledge? Now, I may at some point do it because I'm starting to really like the establishment people. Reince and the whole group have really been nice lately. But, you know, at this moment, it's great leverage, and I might as well use it. I mean, this country should use leverage in their trade deals. They don't believe in it because they don't know what they're doing. So I knew that was going to be a little bit controversial, but it was exciting. A really good way to start off the show.
You're not afraid to just say, I'm not there?
You know what?
But you hoped, if you didn't win, you would hope that you'd be able to support the Republican nominee.
100% correct. I just want to be treated well, be treated with respect. 100% correct.
Okay, let me ask you a little bit. Before you ever became a candidate, you're outspoken. You had a Twitter war with Rosie O'Donnell.
And
that came up tonight.
many others.
But you said something that, you know what, we're too PC, and you said America's in such bad shape. We don't have time to be nice or to have the right tone.
We don't have time. I mean, you know, one of the questions they talked about waterboarding. Do you believe in waterboarding? They asked Ben that question. I said to myself, you know, I'm thinking, here we're talking about waterboarding and they're chopping off everybody's head. And we're worried about waterboarding. So it's we don't have time for it anymore, Sean. The country's in trouble. We owe $19 trillion. It's going to be 21, 22 very soon. And, you know, when you get up to that $24 trillion mark, it's a whole, we become Greece. We become Greece on steroids, I guess you could say. But I don't know. This was a very exciting night, though. We had such a great crowd. And, you know, they really agreed with what I said.
You know, I interpreted the comments you made about Mexican immigrants, I think, differently than other people did when you talked about the Mexican government, and that came up again and again tonight.
Well, you interpreted correct.
Well, I interpreted it as that they're not doing anything to stop it, and it actually is a stopgap for them if they allow people to leave at will.
Well,
is that what you were saying?
And they save a lot of money. They don't have to take care of the people. Yeah. And, you know, we're not getting their best and their finest. They're pushing people out. And I'm talking about serious, in many cases, people that would be in their prisons. They say, hey, let the Americans have stupid leaders, let them put them in their prisons. And the problem is you'll have people like the guy who, the absolute bad guy who killed Kate and killed Jamil and killed other people. You know, you have all these people coming in and they're killing and they're causing crime and the drugs are pouring in. So I turned out to be right. I took tremendous heat that first day. I mean, a lot of your friends like Rush Limbaugh and a lot of people, they said, boy, they used the word incoming. I hadn't heard that word, but Trump is taking tremendous incoming. But it was an honor, and now some of the people that you would least suspect it are calling me up and apologizing. And what I said tonight is true. The word illegal immigration would not have been a topic if it wasn't for me.
It was funny. I think it was quintessential Trump honesty when you said that you donate money, they'll pick up the phone, and yes, you would expect that they would do what you needed to do or 100%. Help you in whatever way. The only question I had is, why would you want to have donated to Hillary to go to your wedding?
Well, no, I was just using that as a joke. Yeah. I mean, you know, they did come to the wedding, but they came because I'm a donor. If I wanted something, I've never wanted it, but if I wanted something and I've contributed, don't forget, that's a different life. I was a businessman. I have to deal with Democrats, I have to deal with Republicans, and I deal with politicians like I'm, you know, as good as it gets, I guess. I built a great business, and part of that business is dealing with politicians. I sort of get a kick when people say, but you don't have political experience. I have more political experience than anybody.
But it is a truth, though. People donate for the purpose of buying influence. Maybe the only difference is you're honest about it.
When I see the candidates, and I like these candidates, I had a great relationship with them tonight, as you can see, for the most part. But I like them very much. They're good people. But when I see them raising 50 million, 40 million, 30 million, from friends of mine, 100 million. Well, Jeb's raising 100 million. It's great. But those people are not like charities. You understand. They don't, you know, they want. These are total tough cookies. I know many of them. I probably know most of them. And when they give millions and millions of dollars, they're not doing it, you know, for the good of the American Cancer Society. They're doing it for themselves.
You know, you gave a very forceful answer about all the hundreds of businesses, I guess corporations that you have, and that you use the laws of the land.
I use the laws of the land.
You said something about bankers, though, that got a pretty good applause.
Yeah, because, you know, the people I really did a number on were bankers. These are tough guys. These are the guys that are giving money to all of these candidates. I mean, these are very tough, very sophisticated guys. They know the game. They know the game as well as I do. And I play the game better than they do, but I understand how to play the game. And I also said, John, that's what the country needs. You know, when you have 18 or 19 trillion in debt, they need somebody like me to straighten it out, because a politician's never going to understand how to straighten it out.
You know, which kind of goes, I was a little surprised. You've been pretty harsh against Governor Jeb Bush tonight. You guys got along. You were complimentary towards him.
He was really nice, and I liked him. In fact, he even took, you know, they put words in his mouth, because these people were not so nice to me as far as I'm concerned. But they put words in his mouth, and he said, I did not say that. I thought that was a class act.
Yeah. So when you talk about the economy, and you mentioned 19 trillion in debt, we also have 128 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
You don't even want to think about that one.
But you also said you want to preserve Social Security and Medicare.
Absolutely, absolutely.
How do we do that, considering that's nearly 80% of the budget?
By making our economy really powerful again. We have to take our jobs. You know, we've rebuilt China. We have single-handedly, they have taken our money, they've taken our jobs, and then they loan money back to us. I mean, they put money in bonds, they buy our bonds. We owe them now $1.4 trillion. Think of it. They do a number on us, and then we owe them money. Think of that. So I know the game better than anybody, and I'm the one that can. I'm the only one that can fix it.
When the issue of tone came up, you said, I think the quote was, "Excuse me, they're chopping off our heads. We don't have time for tone." Is it time for all American politicians to now get rid of political correctness? Are you kind of leading the way?
I don't really think that. I think I'm leading the way at a certain high level of leadership. But look, they're not that way. They're not inclined to be that way. But we need a leader at the top that's going to not worry so much about tone, that's going to get results. We don't have time for tone. And it is true. And Jeb, again, really nice guy, but he did criticize me on tone. He thought my tone was a little bit tough, a little bit quick. We need strong tone, and we need enthusiasm. We need excitement and enthusiasm, because it's never going to get better.
There's never going to be an apology to Rosie. You're still glad you said all that to her.
Oh, she's terrible.
But you wouldn't do that as president.
Probably not. Well, it sort of broke up the question from Megyn, which was not a very nice question to start off with. But no, I'm not a fan of Rosie, but that's okay.
And you're in this to the end. You want this job.
I want this job, and I want to be the Republican. I want to be the Republican. I'm the one that can beat Hillary. Believe me, Hillary's worst nightmare is me. And who treats it rougher than me? She should be going to prison for what she's done with the emails. Nobody even says that. What she's done is totally illegal. Look at General Petraeus, Sean. They've destroyed his life over doing much less than what she's done.
Less. I mean, you know what his confidential information was, his calendar. Mr. Trump, good to see you. Thanks for spending time with us. We appreciate it.
Great
Thanks.
honor.